Have you ever met someone who's disabled? When most people hear the word disabled, they typically think of it as being caused by a physical injury or a birth defect. And that being the case, most people would likely believe that Jessica Cox, a Tucson woman who was born without arms, would therefore be disabled. Yet despite the fact that she was born without fingers, hands, or arms, Jessica Cox is not disabled. Far from it, she's one of the most capable and resourceful people you'll ever meet. Jessica plays the piano with her feet, puts in her contact lenses with her toes, and drives a car that hasn't had any special modifications. That's right, she steers with her feet. For recreation, she surfs, she scuba dives, and she's a black belt in the martial art of Taekwondo. And believe it or not, she even flies an airplane and holds the Guinness Book of World Records for being the first armless person in aviation history to earn a pilot's license. I think you'd have to agree, Jessica Cox is not disabled. Now I'd like to tell you about a young man that truly was disabled. Unlike Jessica, this young man did not have a birth defect or a physical injury. His disability was rooted in his thinking. From an early age, this young man believed that he was incapable, and that belief affected every area of his life, including all the jobs he never applied for, all the women he never asked out, and all the activities he never took part in. This young man spent most of his life a spectator, watching other people live their lives, but not fully participating in his own. Fortunately, at 52 years of age, this now not-so-young man took part in a personal growth workshop and finally discovered that the only reason that he'd been incapable all his life was because of his own belief that he was incapable. If you hadn't already guessed, the young man I'm talking about was me. Discovering that I was not incapable did not make that deep-seated belief go away. It's still there, but it helped me realize I could challenge that belief. I just had to be willing to find the courage to face my fears and to start doing all those things that I had always believed that I was incapable of doing. And for the record, public speaking was at the very top of the list of things I always believed that I was incapable of doing. Discovering that I was not incapable and the reason that lay behind why I always believed I was inspired me to create a nonprofit organization called the Yes I Can Project that's dedicated to helping people identify and overcome their own limiting beliefs. About 7 years ago, about the time I created the Yes I Can Project, I came across a YouTube video about Jessica Cox and all the incredible things I told you about and more that she was able to accomplish in the first 25 years of her life without the use of hands or arms. The moment I saw that video, I knew I had to meet her. So I gave her a call, told her who I was, asked her if we could get together, and 1 week later, I had the pleasure of meeting Jessica Cox. We had lunch and spent the afternoon talking about our lives. And as we sat there eating, I couldn't help but wonder why. Why had an able-bodied person such as myself developed the belief that I was incapable, while the woman who was sitting across from me, who had no arms, had developed the belief that she could accomplish anything that she set her mind to? And then suddenly, out of the blue, I had the answer to this most perplexing question. Jessica and I both developed our beliefs as a result of fear. The difference was how we chose to handle it. My greatest fear had always been that people around me would discover that I was incapable. Well, Jessica's greatest fear was that she was going to be labeled disabled. To cope with my fear, I developed an I can't attitude and continually said no to opportunities when they came my way in life. Jessica chose to face her fears head on and refused to accept that the lack of arms was going to have anything to do with what she could or couldn't do. The truth of the matter is, we all have things that we're afraid of. We all have things in life that we want that we're not going after because we're allowing fear to hold us back. And when we allow that to happen, we are being disabled by fear. One of my favorite quotes is, "Courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the judgment that what you want is more important than your fear." Meeting Jessica Cox was a life-changing experience for me, and I'd like to share the 3 things that I learned from her that day. First, she helped me realize that it's our own fear and limiting beliefs that truly disables us. Second, she helped me realize if you want something badly enough, like she did, you can probably figure out a way to make it happen. And third, she helped me realize that a better way to deal with our fear is to stop saying, "I can't," and to start saying and believing that, yes, I can. Now I have a question I'd like you to ask yourself. And that question is, are there currently any areas in your life where you're being disabled by fear?